Hello, my name's Paulette and I'm the inventor of ARM, which is a stroke rehabilitation device. I'm seeking to develop and commercialise ARM. Every year, about 15 million people in the world have a stroke. In Australia alone, 60,000 people a year have a stroke, which is 1 in every 10 minutes. 2/3 of those people will survive and require rehab. 85% of people will have arm weakness after a stroke and they require rehabilitation, but only half of them will actually recover a useful arm. So the rest of people are left with a poor quality of life and a limited ability to go to the toilet and do their work and life activities. So we need better treatments, but the question is, how do we develop better treatments? Well, firstly, we need to do better research trials with measures that actually measure motor control, which is how the central nervous system controls movements. And secondly, we need to deliver treatment for motor control to patients. We've developed a new technological innovation called ARM, the Arm Movement Measurement Device. And ARM measures the trajectories of the arm and the hand and provides key kinematic data which reflects how the brain is controlling these movements. So what we do with this data is, in the clinic, a therapist would feed back information to the patient and then they try and improve their next movement and they get better that way. Or we use it in research to have better measures of arm recovery, measures of motor control. Well, ARM is made up of smartphone technology, including accelerometers, gyroscope and electromagnetic sensors. And the great thing about ARM is that it's small, it's cheap and it's accurate. Well, so far we have developed 2 prototypes. We're developing our 3rd prototype right now, and we already have an IP strategy in place. We've done 2 market surveys, and we've also published data on our pre-proof of principle studies. Well, stroke care is a huge cost for the health service, and one thing that can reduce that cost is mobile health. The capacity to reduce costs with mobile health is immense. So mobile health is of high value because it can be an effective way to communicate, it has improved patient compliance, and it can penetrate remote geographies. The increased use of mobile technology in low and middle income countries increases the potential for the adaptability of ARM. We will make sure that our invention can be used on all platforms, including Mac, Android and Microsoft, etc. And this will enable us to help transform the way rehab and healthcare is delivered for stroke patients and how it's managed and accessed by patients also. So this will all result in decreased costs for rehabilitation and less time in hospital for patients. ARM will have dual use. Firstly, it will be used in the clinic, in public hospitals, private hospitals and private physiotherapy practices, and there's also great scope for delivering this technology straight to the patients who can use it at home on their own. The second major use is for researchers who are conducting clinical trials on the effectiveness of interventions, and they for the first time will be able to do motor control measures in these large clinical trials based in the community. Not only will these clinical trials and treatments concern stroke patients, this technology is also just as applicable for people with other neurological conditions, such as children with cerebral palsy and adults with multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease or brain injury. Based on our market research, we expect the initial sales in the UK alone, for example, in the clinical setting to be £1.3 million. And in Australia, the use of ARM as a research tool is expected to result in initial sales of $1.2 million. I think our team is ideal to ensure the successful commercialisation of a really high product with ARM. Firstly, we have myself, who's an experienced stroke rehabilitation physiotherapist and neuroscience, and I've identified the need for this device. We have Nagaraj Gopasetti, who works for Newcastle Innovation as an experienced commercialisation manager. We have an engineer, James Welsh, who is very experienced as an electronic engineer and is overseeing the building of ARM. And then lastly, we have a mathematician and statistician and also an experienced stroke geriatrician who's also an entrepreneur. If we're successful with this application, in the first 6 months we will be developing and integrating the software within ARM. We will test it for its accuracy, reliability and validity. We will carry out a clinical trial and obtain regulatory approval from the government. And lastly, we will expect to already have initial sales achieved.